Let's talk about Scharnick James. Let's be honest. Whether the allegations are true or not, this man's mix of mystery, calm demeanor, confidence, and legal knowledge is both interesting and intriguing. Wait, before you click away, let me explain. Most of us first saw this man sitting behind General Shadrach Sibia during his well-known lack of performance at the ad hoc committee investigating the allegations raised by Lieutenant General Makwanazi that shook the nation. Some of us even noticed him laughing a bit during Sibia's memorable moment where he struggled to explain what an activist is.
General, what is your definition of an activist?
An activist is a person who is actually an activist is a person who's I'm looking for the right English word, Chair, who is actually no, it's not a difficult word. It's just this word that is disappearing in my mind. But an activist is a person who is actually...
Well, nothing seemed off to most of us, but clearly law enforcement saw something different. Lieutenant General Dumasani Khumalo formally introduced Scharnick to the country during his testimony at the Madlanga Commission, and the picture he painted was interesting.
The car is registered or owned by a gentleman named Scharnick Stuart James.
According to Khumalo, Scharnick appeared to operate as an unofficial, off-the-books bodyguard to General Shadrach Sibia. And that alone raises serious questions, because high-ranking SAPS officials are provided state security, not private protection from unknown individuals. Anyway, Khumalo went even further, laying out what he says he uncovered about Scharnick, specifically his alleged ties to a carjacking syndicate, along with a criminal history he believes the public should be paying attention to.
So a quick profile of the owner of the car. As I've mentioned, Mr. James is having a total of 34 cases. He was found guilty on 18 of them, and 11 were withdrawn, and 5 he was found not guilty. That is the profile as per our systems of the owner of the car. Now,
the owner of the Toyota Baki?
Yes. The list as reflected, there are lots of questions. If you commit so many theft and hijackings within the space of 2 years and you are found guilty, how many years and when are you serving your sentences? Because everything is like in a very short space of time. That is part of investigation that is still ongoing. That is.
And can you describe what we see in that picture?
And the picture is the day the Deputy National Commissioner was appearing in the ad hoc committee with the same gentleman, owner of the car, acting like his close protector in the highest offices of government for 2 days. We then captured that so as then we can finalize our link and relationship.
Side note, here's what confuses me. Khumalo has been out on 10,000 Rand bail since June for an unrelated matter, and his bail conditions bar him from working as a law enforcement official in his original capacity. He's also prohibited from entering any crime intelligence premises. Yet Sibia and Scharnick appeared at the Madlanga Commission in October, which raises a serious question. How did Khumalo still have access to all this information, despite those restrictions? Anyway, this story is about Scharnick, so let's carry on.
Relationship. Thank you.
Okay. So is the purpose of this photograph to show that he is in the presence of General Sibia and in Parliament?
That's correct, Commissioners.
I would not have been able to recognize him in the picture in Parliament because he's clean-shaven here and his heavily bearded in the other picture where you show the ownership of the Toyota Hilux double cab parking. How did you establish the identity?
That is correct, Commissioner. When we do the images, we want to do them in line with the photo that is on the system. But then the personal information is the one that will confirm our pieces of information. But we would not want to use the photo image from the other system when we are talking on the other system. The concern that we have as we're dealing with this project talks to the infiltration of, in this case, I will say SAPs at the highest level by the syndicates. Before you even do the detailed investigation, looking at the basic profile of the individual, it tells you that it's either individual is part of a car hijacking syndicate that is working very hard, looking at the timelines, that it's not one vehicle per year. Maybe it's 12 or whatever the target. So,
following this, Scharnick James felt the need to respond.
All right, let's get into this now. Crime intelligence boss Dumsane Khumalo yesterday told the Madlanga inquiry that suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Scharnick James was allegedly the beneficiary of a Toyota Hilux, which is owned by convicted criminal Stuart James Scharnick. Now, he claims Sibia allegedly, or the alleged bodyguard, has a total of 34 cases, 18 of which he was convicted of. Now, Scharnick joins me in studio tonight to respond to these allegations. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Now, notice how calm this guy is, considering the platform he's on and the seriousness of the allegations against him.
Thank you for your time. Can I just quickly start with whether or not the Madlanga inquiry has made contact with you already? Because it does appear they have expressed an interest in talking to you.
So I reached out to them immediately when I followed the Madlanga Commission, and I realized that Lieutenant General Khumalo was misleading the Madlanga Commission, particularly with my information. I then sent a WhatsApp message to the evidence leader, as well as the spokesperson, Mr. Jeremy Michaels, and they put me in contact with Dr. Peter Gos. And those are the three people who I'm currently engaged with. However, they have not expressed that they require me there, but I have availed myself and my willingness to defend myself against the misinformation that's been let out.
Okay, let's deal with this part. First, why would Scharnick even reach out to the Commission and offer to testify at a stage this high? Secondly, notice what he slips in. 1, he is the one who approached them, and 2, in case anyone doubts that, he immediately offers names so his story can be verified directly. That's a classic move to establish credibility.
Now, you've already stated that you dispute the evidence that has been submitted at the Madlanga inquiry about you. Can I just ask, on what grounds do you dispute this? On what grounds do you say that what General Khumalo said about you is incorrect and defamatory?
So I'd started at the point where, for number one, he says that I impersonated a protector when I appeared in the ad hoc committee seated behind General Scharnick James. And he says that SAPS members are protected by SAPS protectors. And he doesn't understand why I was there, and it seemed like I was pretending or impersonating a SAPS officer, which was extremely shocking because Lieutenant General Khumalo knows me, and he knows me well. And he was introduced to me by Lieutenant General Scharnick in his office. So for him to come out and display the notion that he doesn't know who I am and what I was doing there is totally absurd and misleading. And that was the first red flag for me when he mentioned that.
Scharnick mentions two interesting things here. First, that he wouldn't have been in Parliament that day if he hadn't been cleared by parliamentary security. And second, that General Khumalo knows him personally, saying they were introduced by Sibiya. Again, that's a huge claim to make if he didn't have any evidence to back it up.
In terms of our communication, the cell phone records, we've been to his office, and all the way up to 2024, I still have communication that's on my cell phone with Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Let's talk about the criminal convictions you have against you. How many are those?
So it's another misleading factor. It's misrepresented by Lieutenant General Khumalo, and he has access to the records, particularly because he's the head of crime intelligence. The matters that you're speaking about are from 2010 and 2011. That's close to 15 years ago. And it's not 18 separate cases in 18 different magistrates with 18 different courts. It's 18 counts in one case with one magistrate with one sentence. And the sentence given, which General Khumalo conveniently forgot to read into the record, was a 5-year suspended sentence and a fine that needed to be paid, which has been paid, and the suspended sentence has lapsed.
What was the case about?
The case involved buying and selling of vehicles. And in the buying and selling of vehicles, there were a number of business people who had purchased vehicles and sold vehicles. However, we hadn't done the correct due diligence on the history of the vehicles. And there was a host of SAPS officials that were arrested, as well as business people that were part of the operation in a scam that was conducted over a 3-year period by certain individuals. And in the scam, vehicles' parts were removed, and some of them came from stolen vehicles, and others came from dubious sources. However, in the court ruling, they ruled that the onus is on the seller to ensure that the history of the vehicle is correct.
How much time did you serve in jail?
Not at all. I've just explained that the sentencing was a 5-year suspended sentence, and it included a fine. And that was the sentence given for the crimes that were part of the operation.
So, here's what we know about South Africa's justice system. You don't just walk away with a suspended sentence for carjacking or hijacking, not even for a single count, let alone multiple. Yet there are no reports, no court records, and no testimony from Khumalo suggesting that Scharnick ever spent a single day in prison. That doesn't add up, to say the least. Anyway, Scharnick also sat down with other news outlets and later announced that he has opened cases of fraud, defamation, and perjury against Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo.
But, Iman, I am in fact joined by the man of the moment. Stuart, thank you so much for your time this morning. I can see papers in hand, documents. You are ready to lay those charges. But talk to us about those charges. What exactly are you coming to the police station for, and what are you accusing General Khumalo of?
Well, morning to you and your viewers. Number one, we've got to start with the lies that he put on record, that I've been convicted of 18 hijackings. I haven't been convicted of one hijacking in my life. I've got my records from the LCRC just down the road. And if General Khumalo had any intelligence, as the head of intelligence, he would have picked up the phone and phoned the LCRC, which keeps the records of all the cases. Simply because he hasn't done that and he's misled the commission by lying under oath, we felt compelled to charge him. But he's also caused irreparable damage to myself and my family, and he will be sued accordingly. My legal team is now preparing papers, and we will be taking this matter even further than just the criminal cases that we are opening this morning.
Now, talk to me about those charges. I understand it's 3 charges that you'll be laying against the General today.
Yes, this morning I'll be opening charges of perjury. The second charge would obviously be contravention of the Papier Act and defeating the ends of justice. Once my legal team had gone through his statements and his affidavits, we carefully studied what he testified on the day and the information that he presented at the Madlanga Commission, and we felt fit to raise these three matters criminally, as well as we are now preparing to sue him civilly as well, and we will incorporate the minister in that legal claim.
And talk to us a little bit about the other statements that he's made in regards to putting you as a questionable figure that has close proximity to a, suspended National Police Commissioner. I mean, you are a convicted criminal. You've also, of course, acknowledged this yourself. Is this an attempt to clear your name, or do you really feel as though these cases will hold water?
Well, I'm confident about the cases that we're opening. But what I can tell you about Lieutenant General Khumalo, he knows me as long as I know Lieutenant General Sibiya. I know him for more than 3 years. My last communication with him was in 2024. I actually sent messages to some of his operatives that are in the field to explain to them that their names and surnames and cell phone numbers are contained in this affidavit, and it might compromise their safety and the safety of their family. But they're more than welcome to speak to their boss and remind him how well he knows me.
You've spoken about a civil case. How much money would you be pursuing in that matter?
When we do launch that, the civil matter, we will have a media briefing with the legal team. We will set it out openly and we'll move from there, because my constitutional rights as well have been trampled by this man. And his lack of intelligence and what he said is borderline idiotic. And the fact that he said it in front of the Madlanga Commission is shocking. I have never been convicted of hijacking in my life, and yet I'm labeled as a serial hijacker.
Now, at the start of this video, I mentioned mystery, calm demeanor, confidence, and legal knowledge. Go ahead and add unpredictability to that list. Because honestly, which criminal do you know who repeatedly draws this much attention to themselves, openly challenges a high-ranking official, and then goes as far as suing them publicly? And remember, having a criminal record and accompanying a police general to Parliament isn't a crime. So technically, Scharnick isn't in any legal trouble here. If anything, his moves are a display of the biggest balls imaginable. Anyway, Scharnick opening cases against Khumalo triggered a reaction almost immediately, because shortly after that, Major General Anthony Gopaul led a police briefing to discuss Scharnick's criminal record. Since when does law enforcement respond like this just because they're being sued?
Senior KwaZulu-Natal police officials maintain that suspended Deputy National Commissioner Scharnick Sibiya's alleged associate, Stuart Scharnick, is linked to 29 criminal cases in the province alone. This is despite the Durban businessman opening a fraud and defamation case against crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo, accusing him of lying under oath at the Madlanga Commission. Scharnick disputes Khumalo's testimony that he was found guilty on 18 charges. Take a listen.
10 of these 29 dockets where part of that plea was related to theft of motor vehicle. The cover of the docket, the charge, the vehicle involved, it's a vehicle, it's a theft of motor vehicle. 8 of these 29 cases that I'm referring to were cases of carjacking. During the month of January this year, we went into the system to do an audit of this part of his information. In our course of doing this preliminary investigation, on the 16th of January, at 16:58 in the afternoon of that day, a particular employee of the South African Police Services went into the criminal record system and made some adjustments to the benefit of Mr. Stuart Scharnick. That's why Mr. Scharnick is so confident to say there'll be nothing on the system. Unfortunately, the particular employee doesn't understand the full extent of auditing side of the back end of systems. And on the back end of systems, the transactions which he deleted reflects and remains on the back end of the system.
All right, and Stuart Scharnick is in studio with us once again this evening to respond to the latest claims coming out of KwaZulu-Natal Police Headquarters. Mr. Scharnick, good to have you back. Let's go straight into it. The police in KZN are saying you are linked to 29 separate cases. 18 of those you were convicted on. Do you still maintain that there's only one case that was ever dealt with in your name?
Well, good evening to you, Xoli, and the viewers at home. I think for me, today was an aha moment, because what actually was said by the Major General is that the 18 cases were taken as one. And that's the subject of investigation, as to find out why were all the 18 cases put into one case. Meaning you can only have one conviction for the 18 cases, all transferred into one matter. As I've said before, and I maintain again, I have never been charged, or I've been charged, but I've never been convicted of hijacking. And today, Major General Gopaul comes out publicly in a damage control type setting to try and change the narrative that I was correct from my initial onset when I said all 18 cases form one case with 18 charges. And for that I was given a 5-year suspended sentence, which has been served out. And he's incorrect when he says it was a fine. It actually was funds paid to what's known as KARA, which is a fund that the DPP sets up for victims of crimes.
There is one small detail that you are leaving out, which the General said, and that is that there is a member of staff within the police that went into their system in order, he didn't put it in these words, but in order to almost play with the system to consolidate these cases to make it look like it is one case. Do you have someone inside the South African Police Service who could have done this on your behalf?
On the contrary, Xoli, what he was trying to do is to try and fool the nation into believing. And on that point, he wasn't speaking about the 18 cases turned into one. He was talking about matters being deleted from the local criminal records center. So it's two separate matters. So the fact that it was 18 cases transferred into one and one sentence given, he conceded. And he actually said they're now writing to the NDPP to start reviewing that matter to see how did this occur, which is a foolish exercise in any event, which we're not worried about. Because you must remember, in a 105A plea and sentence agreement, you find the NDPP's people who are appointed in the province sitting down with the prosecution team. They then sit down with the investigating officers. They also sit down with my legal team, which was a senior advocate at that time. There were more than 6 people applying their minds to the matter. Then it's still referred to a magistrate, Xoli, and the magistrate then applies his mind before he actually agrees with the plea and sentence agreement. So what Major General Gopaul was actually saying today, you must investigate the magistrate, investigate the prosecutor, investigate the public prosecutor of the province of KZN, investigate the cops that were involved in the matter, which is a ludicrous notion. That is simply a person demonstrating how weak and frivolous his allegations were since day one, and it's damage control because they know that the fraud case against Khumalo sticks. What was portrayed at the Madlanga Commission was 34 cases in total, 18 cases, and he said multiple hijacking convictions. Not one conviction of hijacking was on my conviction today.
Let's talk about another element or aspect of what he told the nation today, and that is that part of these cases are due to hijackings. Hijackings where there is force. People are intimidated and assaulted. Are you a hijacker?
It's actually hilarious, Xoli. You know, when a person portrays one part of the story and not the other, it shows you that there's an intentional misconception that he's trying to portray. I have never been convicted in hijacking in my life. And he himself is saying that. He said that my plea and sentence agreement was of a lesser verdict, and I got away with a slap on the wrist, which is his opinion, but not the opinion of the judiciary. And he actually brings the judiciary's credibility into disrepute by making those remarks. I will say it again one more time, Xoli. I have never been convicted of hijacking in my life. Hence, I've opened these charges against Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Make us understand why the need for guns. How many guns do you have?
I do own 5 firearms.
What kind of firearms are they?
I own handguns, rifles, and long-range rifles.
What is the purpose for this?
I hunt. I'm part of the South African Hunters Guild, and I'm a sport shooter. I shoot in clubs, club shoots. I'm an avid gun fan. I'm extremely well trained when it comes down to firearms, and I enjoy the outdoor life.
Was there ever a point where you were denied a license for any of these firearms?
100%. And that comes from the point in time when I was attending my cases. So while you are attending a pending case, it makes no sense for the firearm control officer to issue you with the competency while you are currently attending a case.
But why would there be a denial of a firearm to you if the case that you are attending has no connection whatsoever to you threatening people's lives?
It's just part of the process, Xoli. Whenever there's cases that are ongoing, it's within the firearm controls officer's decision for him to process your application or not. And in this instance, I might add, I was called by one of the firearms controls officers who actually said, Mr. Scharnick, it would be better for you to withdraw your application as you're wasting time and money until your cases are concluded. Once your cases are concluded, you may then reapply and we will reassess your application, which I've done so once my cases were complete. And the cases that I was found guilty on, the one case, is actually of a very minor offense. Hence, I was able to get my firearm licenses under Section 16 application.
General Gopaul describes you as a spotter, as you, at certain instances, we see you in camera, you're standing behind General Shadrack Sibiya, and he describes you as a spotter. Why would he ascribe that particular description to what he thinks you do for Sibiya?
It's always shocking to see old members of SAPS lie like children. You know, I'm not in the security industry. He's confirmed that himself, he conceded. For somebody to make an allegation and simply go out there with baseless points to say he's a spotter, he was brandishing a firearm, without understanding the factual context of what's taking place.
What would have been the context? Because at some point you are carrying a very serious firearm, a rifle.
Are you talking about the instance that he portrayed with the video?
Indeed.
If you look at that video, we are surrounded by gentlemen carrying firearms, one in particular carrying a rifle. And if you are transporting a firearm with the Firearms Control Act, you are not allowed to leave your firearm in a vehicle. Hence, even if you listen to the video recording, he says to me, put your firearm in the vehicle. And I say to him, it's against the regulations to leave my firearm unattended in a vehicle. Now you have to put the matter into context before you take one picture and base a story on your imagination. And Major General Gopaul knows that. But clearly he's grasping at straws. They are shaken by the fact that they probably gave the incorrect information to Lieutenant General Dumsani Khumalo, and that's why he took it upon himself to do damage control. I'm not sure why Lieutenant General Dumsani Khumalo didn't come out and simply apologize.
Let me ask you this way. So you're saying that there is no contravention of the law for you to brandish a firearm, a heavy assault rifle like that. And this is a very important element because you're surrounded by law enforcement and there is an exchange. I did listen to it because at some point they're saying, why do you think we shouldn't carry firearms? These are police officers. If you look back at the case of the EFF leader, Julius Malema, he shoots a gun up in the sky. He has since been found guilty for that. Yes, he's going to appeal, but it tells you about brandishing a firearm in public because that could amount to public endangerment. Once again, are you saying that you are allowed to do what you did there?
In fact, let me just correct you on 2 points.
Yeah.
Number one, that is not a rifle. That was a shotgun, number one. And number two, I was not surrounded by police officers. Those were traffic cops. And if you understand the context of what was taking place, it would be more incorrect for me to leave my firearm inside a vehicle unattended than have my firearm on my persons. So there are strict regulations around carrying a firearm, particularly if you have a license. Now, I'm a license holder, unlike Julius Malema. So you can't make the comparison of somebody who is illegally brandishing a firearm and shooting in public versus a license holder protecting his own firearm rather than leaving it inside a vehicle.
Yeah. All right. As we wind down this conversation, talk to us about your links in KZN. Do you know any high-profile people in that province? Because what's being painted today in the public's mind is that the reason you could even have people trying to interfere with the system in order to tamper with your record within the South African Police Service is to try to protect you. And that's the basis of this question. Do you know any high-profile people in that province, whether it be a senior police official or even a politician?
Excuse me. Koli, I'm glad you asked me that question. And I want to put it this way, but I want to deal with this point of the LCRC first, as you asked earlier, but we didn't get to that point. The LCRC, the Local Criminal Records Center, has police members that are in control of that facility. And there's an expungement process which we are allowed to embark on once you've reached a threshold of 10 years since a crime has been committed. Now, what Major General Gopaul conveniently forgot to tell the nation is that I've had 2 applications approved, and the system had to be updated. And I have proof of the letters and my application that I submitted, and I was granted. So for him to make a frivolous allegation against his colleagues is scary, that South African citizens must watch this take place to protect a lie. I wear this shirt this evening because I like it. You'd find some South Africans making the allegation that I'm part of a cartel because I wear a specific type of shirt. I wish the allegation that Major Gopaul said today was true, that I can control magistrates, cops, lawyers, prosecutors, LCRC, control the whole country. It's a blatant lie and it's not true. And what it does is it tarnishes the credibility of SAPS's independence, it tarnishes the independence of the judicial system, and it tarnishes the integrity of the NPA. So what he's saying is extremely dangerous allegations with no proof whatsoever, Xoli.
Mr. Scharnick? I'm running out of time. You still haven't answered my question.
Yes.
Do you know any high-profile people, whether in the police service or in the political space, that could help you with interfering in the system of the police?
That's a very simple answer, and the answer is no. He's confirmed in KZN. He does not know of me knowing anybody in KZN in the top management structures. I only know the people that I have mentioned previously, like General Shadrack Sibia, like General Khumalo, and like General Masimula. I've been open about these matters, and all three of them I still hold in extremely high esteem, and I know General Khumalo wouldn't interfere in any cases to help me in particular. I know that General Shadrack Sibia has never helped me and will never help me commit crimes within the SAP space, and neither has General Fani Masimula helped me with anything like that.
When you were based in KZN, I don't know where you're based now. I suspect you wouldn't answer that because of security reasons.
Not at all. I'm based in Gauteng.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
When you were based in KZN, where exactly in KZN did you live?
I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm from Richards Bay. Richards Bay needs a spotlight shone on it with all the killings. We've got 150 cold case killings. General Khumalo is aware of that. Lieutenant General Sibia is aware of that. And I'm sure the province is aware of that. And if Major General Gopaul doesn't have enough work, he should come and check out those murder cases, as well as the extrajudicial killing of children in our province, as well as Peter Maritzburg with another 170 cold murder cases.
Richards Bay is not too far from Mpangeni.
Yes.
We know today, through Mr. Nkabinde's testimony, that that is where the current Minister of Police, who's on suspension, also has a home. Have you ever been to his home?
Never. I know of him, as he's extremely popular in our area for his political standpoints and what he's done in the area. His wife is also well known in our area. She was a district mayor at some point. And we have a number of politicians from that area, that region, whom we know of, but I don't know them where I can sit with them and tell them to hide some of my criminal records or hide a criminal case or anything of that sort. I mean, that's just a baseless allegation. So we know of them, but we don't know them only as friends.
Nor the children?
Nor the children, not at all. Never met his children in my life.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Stuart Scharnick.
So, whether or not Scharnick James is the villain some are making him out to be, one thing is clear. He's no ordinary figure. He knows his rights, he understands the law, and he isn't afraid to challenge authority head-on. He carries himself with a calm, almost unsettling confidence, and there's a layer of mystery that makes every move he makes unpredictable. From publicly confronting high-ranking officials to navigating the spotlight with calculated precision, he keeps everyone guessing, and that, in itself, is powerful. Love him or hate him, dismiss him or doubt him, you cannot ignore the way he commands attention, maneuvers through complex legal and political arenas, and asserts himself without hesitation. Scharnick James is, without a doubt, a study in audacity, strategy, and fearless self-assurance.